A month away means we have a lot to talk about, so join us today for our July news recap, sprinkled with the best new reveals and updates from your favorite games. Path of Exile just recently launched its new Curse of the Allflame League, letting you explore the ocean floor. You will be diving into the depths using magical lanterns to hold back the water while you collect Dead Man's sulfur and fight off whatever lurks down there. Extract before your lantern goes out or risk drowning and losing your unsecured loot. You see, not even Path of Exile is safe from extraction gameplay these days. Should you manage to escape the depths, you can then use that sulfur for Allflame crafting. This new system allows you to enhance an item with multiple ghostly outcomes, letting you pick the one you actually want instead of leaving everything entirely to chance. But even more importantly, the game's socket colors have been overhauled after 13 years, with most sockets getting bleached white and now accepting any gem. Mercenaries have also become a permanent system, while a new Ascendancy can turn one into a fully customizable companion. Aside from that, we also got some other major changes to the endgame, including Abyss and Legion, a new pinnacle boss, and Atlas anomalies. The third and final DLC for the ARPG Grim Dawn, called Fangs of Asterkarn, launched on July 23rd. This expansion adds a massive new snow region, items, and a potion crafting mechanic. But the real headline is probably the newly added WASD movement support, or the Berserker, the game's 10th mastery. Other games would rather call this class a druid, as it lets you transform into a werewolf or a raven, giving the class two very different ways to tear through enemies. There's also the Ascendant Mode, which turns the entire campaign into a brutal endgame playground for level 100 characters, complete with tougher enemies and new loot. And since the whole thing works in 4-player co-op, you can bring 3 friends along. Fangs of Asterkarn is available now on PC, and the base game has also finally launched on Xbox, with Asterkarn coming soon too. After years of development and a complete change in direction, Angelic Dark Symphony finally seems ready to spread its angelic wings. This was once planned to become a blockchain game, but the team has since decided otherwise. Instead, they are going for a story-driven tactical RPG in a sci-fi setting. Battles combine classic turn-based strategy with cinematic camera work, environmental interactions, and combo attacks between your party members. One party consists of multiple customizable heroes, complete with a backstory and a unique playstyle. And if all that sounded great to you until now, there is a catch. The campaign seems to be single-player only. For us multiplayer gamers, there will be something called Chaos Theater Mode, where you can take the same heroes online for different co-op PvE or PvP battles separate from the campaign. Angelic Dark Symphony is coming soon to PC via Steam and the Epic Game Store. 10 years. That's how long Scrap Mechanics spent in early access before finally reaching version 1.0. And to celebrate the launch, the developers also massively expanded the game with their biggest update yet, called Drilling Thunder. The main story quest is now finished and fully voice-acted, and the new underground areas let you drill through abandoned mines in search of rare resources. But you will also find ancient secrets and plenty of hostile robots. On top of that come new enemies, a desert biome, improved visuals, dynamic weather, and the removal of hunger and thirst bars, letting you spend even more time on building ridiculously awesome vehicles instead of worrying about your next snack. Wait, is it already time for my next snack? The physics sandbox is still the real star of the show, especially with 2 to 4 players in co-op, engineering machines and exploring the world together. By the way, this game comes from the devs behind Raft, though we're not sure if that makes you love it even more or bring back shark-related trauma. Anyway, Scrap Mechanic looks fantastic with stellar reviews on Steam, and it is available now. Do you crave some retro-style dungeon diving without undusting your old consoles? Then today is your lucky day, because that's exactly what Ignite the Depths is aiming for. A dark fantasy dungeon crawler with retro-inspired art style that mixes classic aesthetics and modern rendering. The game lets you venture deep into a handcrafted labyrinth where you will battle monsters, solve little puzzles, and take on massive raid-style bosses. 4 different classes encourage teamwork and coordination, as they all come with synergies between each other. A flexible progression system lets you mix skills and randomized upgrades into wildly different builds, without spending dozens of hours farming for that specific rare drop first. What do you mean Invincible's reigns weren't necessary for my mage's build? The game will release later this year, and an open beta is already open for signups on Steam. We have strongly recommended Sea of Stars before, so whenever a game comes around looking somewhat similar, we are all here for it. Tidespawn is a beautifully handcrafted pixel art adventure set under the sea. It really brings the best out of classic action-adventure RPGs. A narrative including side quests, exploration, combat, and some puzzles. All this in 2-player shared screen co-op for both couch co-op and Steam Remote Play together. And if you thought you'd have to be the one playing Magikarp here after losing rock, paper, scissors, don't worry, it actually looks like both players will be playing as a 2-legged hero. Your scaly companion has another mission to fulfill, like transforming into a living trident that grows alongside you throughout the journey. Just fish things, you know? A tide and lunar phase system constantly changes up the environment, opening up previously inaccessible areas. And treasure. Tidespawn is currently in development for PC with a demo planned ahead of release, and we think this game looks extremely interesting. And while we're on the topic of underwater settings, Seaforge Shores of Atlantis is not only taking us to explore the ancient sunken city, but the Mediterranean seas and shores as well. You will spend your days building your cozy seaside home, tending gardens, and crafting new equipment, before diving deep down below in search of long-lost technology. The deeper you venture beneath the surface, the more valuable the rewards become. But your oxygen supply and the creatures lurking in the depths make every expedition a careful balancing act. Up to 4 players can join in online co-op and share the adventure. If you're getting a mix of Subnautica and Voyagers of Nera vibes from this, you're probably not alone. Seaforge is heading to PC in early access in 2027. One of the biggest trends in gaming in the past years has been games adding guns to rather untraditional settings. Like the newest edition, Guns and Dragons. Why bring a sword to fight the dragon when you could also bring a shotgun instead? This upcoming co-op roguelite FPS reminded us somewhat of Gunfire Reborn or even Orcs Must Die, just minus the tower defense. Up to 3 players battle through dungeons, collecting runes, artifacts, and upgrades that can transform even the most ordinary weapon into an absurd magical killing machine by the end of a run. If you make it, that is. Between runs, you'll use the resources you have gathered to expand a customizable base, where you unlock new equipment and permanent upgrades for future attempts. Or you spend hours decorating. Although the main focus is of course on experimenting with more than 40 different weapons, creating over-the-top builds, and tackling, well, dragons together. Guns and Dragons is heading to PC in early access, with the first public playtest currently running through August 10. One difficult but very crucial decision in game development is finding a name for your game. That's why Windrose isn't Crosswind anymore, and you probably know Cave Game better as Minecraft. Those rebrandings are often for better discoverability, like in PUBG's case, and we would advise OZARK the same, as it's highly difficult to compete with a 4-season Netflix series as an indie title. We could go on about the struggle behind deciding our name, but there's a cool game to showcase here, so stay focused, Lumi. This side-scrolling horror adventure sends you into an underground facility on a rescue mission. As you search for your missing partner, it's up to you to decide whether to quietly slip through the darkness or trigger every alarm in the building. Although, more often than not, you just have to let your weapons do the talking. And with scavenged weapons and upgradable gear, you're most likely up to the task. Or you could just take cover behind your buddy and let them do the dirty work. Because the whole campaign can be played in 2-player local co-op or through remote play together. And once you have survived the story, there's even a local versus mode where 2 players can settle things the old-fashioned way. OZARK is planned to launch in 2026 on PC with or without name change. A game about chopping trees is exactly what the title promises. A relaxing simulation where you quietly work your way through peaceful forests, sell logs, upgrade your tools, and replant new saplings afterwards. There are no enemies, timers, or survival mechanics to interrupt your wooden zen, but for some reason the game lets you shoot cannonballs on sailing ships. And if it's getting too silent, you can always invite one friend to haul logs and ride the little handcar together. Or you go on a walk with your husky, which they added in the latest update, with more updates coming over the course of August. This is probably not trying to become your next 200-hour main game, but sometimes a few calm evenings are all you need. A game about chopping trees is available now on PC. Quake just turned 30 and it's celebrating with a free new campaign for the remastered version. The update called Dawn of the Machine adds 19 connected maps, new enemies, weapons and secrets, while also throwing in a fresh deathmatch map. Once Human is finally making the jump to consoles on August 25th, complete with full crossplay and cross-progression. The second half of the year also brings an ocean-themed expansion with ships, underwater exploration, and an 8-player dungeon. Necesse's last free update is split between romance and rusty machinery. While settlers now have personalities, hobbies, and even dating options, the endgame also got a new industrial biome with fresh gear, a boss fight, and plenty of quality of life improvements. After its latest pre-alpha test, Zeverland is shifting even further towards cooperative PvE survival. The developers are responding to player feedback with private servers, stronger protection against griefing, and more features like farming, fishing, and expanded base building. This is one we are really looking forward to. Marathon is testing the waters with Vault Breaker, a limited time mode that removes enemy players entirely. Instead, you scavenge through increasingly difficult AI-controlled vaults solo or with friends, complete puzzles, and permanently upgrade your loadout. Possibly a preview of a bigger PvE mode coming later if this one is successful. Final Fantasy XIV has revealed its next tank class, Bastion, arriving with the Evercold expansion in January. Instead of the usual sword and shield, they fight with 2 giant transforming shields that switch between close-range combos and long-range artillery, while also offering support for the party. If mowing down hundreds of enemies sounds like your thing, Tears of Metal might be worth a look. This new co-op roguelike lets up to 4 players battle hordes of invaders, improve their village defenses between runs, and, this is the best part, has already launched into early access with very positive reviews. Pokémon Pokopia's first paid expansion is now available, adding an underwater region with new Pokémon, exploration, decorations, and building options. Even players without the DLC get the new dive ability, making underwater exploration available for everyone. The surprise co-op hit Peak is getting its final major update next week. It adds 2 new late-game biomes, another creature to avoid, and one last secret, before the developers move on to their next project. This week over on the Epic Store, you can claim We Were Here Together for free until August 13th. This classic 2-player puzzle adventure separates you and your partner inside a creepy castle, leaving you with nothing but a walkie-talkie to figure out what the other player can see. So grab a friend and get ready to realize just how bad at describing mundane contraptions you really are. But that's all for this week. We wish you a ton of sun and fun in co-op with your favorite people. And we are happy to finally be back to our weekly schedule. Maybe we'll even get a review or guide out again soon. As the successful creators say, subscribe to us if you'd like, so you don't miss anything anymore. And until then, we will see you again in the next one.